All right, and welcome everybody to another edition. I keep forgetting what number. We're in the 60s, 70s. But anyway, she was on one of my first when we was on Instagram, but then we went to StreamYard, so we had to bring her back. And welcome to the EGlaze Chronicles this Monday, October 19th. Wow, this year, as crazy as 2020 has been, here we are, and we're having a blast. And we have a great one today. A friend of mine I've known for a few years now. Her growth has just been amazing over the last few years. And she's also doing some important things right now that I just wanted to bring on and we can talk about. So without further ado, please welcome the creator of the Promote Positivity movement, community activist and dear friend, and also Optimize the Vision board member, Hannah Joy Gebresilassie. How you doing, Hannah?
Hi, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be back. I feel like it was just yesterday that we connected on this awesome platform, and it's good to circle back. But I'm doing well and pushing through like everybody else. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. I want to start with this. How important is November the 3rd?
Oh my gosh, you want to start there. First of all, how important is every day leading up to November 3rd? Let's have that conversation. It is incredibly important, and we absolutely cannot wait for November 3rd. That's how important it is. In order to make sure our votes are in safely and soundly, we have to vote way before November 3rd. I'm super happy that I already voted. It was such a great feeling knowing that it's in, it's done. But honestly, you all, November 3rd, this election, it's more than just the president. It's more than just the vice president. There are sheriffs, there are district attorneys, there are state representatives, there are senators, running to really transform our state of Georgia and states around the country. So there's not enough words to describe how important it is. And there's definitely not enough words to describe how important every single day is leading up to November 3rd, because early voting is really, really key.
And it's been really strong, the early voting. I've seen some of the numbers. I'm an absentee. It was just so great to be able to pull up to my box and drop it in there and keep it moving and get the voting on and confirm that I'm there. But thank you for bringing up one thing. And I'm glad you brought that up. People always think it's about the one election. It's about multiple elections from local, state to the national level. Just tell people about just important, especially in the state of Georgia, some of the bills and things like that are going through, how important that is that we have to get out there and do that.
I mean, it's like you said, it's really, really important to remember we're not just voting for, the top of the ticket. From the top to the bottom of those ballots, there's so much on there. And so whether we're talking about people or policy directly, there are so many things. A lot of people came out this summer, protesting and fighting for change. And so we have to take that same energy and apply it to the ballot, apply it at the polls, because it all works together. It all works together. And we talk about wanting to see change, wanting to see, whether it's police reform or, seeing a new system, a new atmosphere for, people to be able to be safe and conditions to be more, equal and equitable for everyone. We have to be able to vote. And just to give you an example, in Georgia, there's currently an amendment on our ballot called Amendment 2 that basically will, remove sovereign immunity, which of course protects state officials like police officers from getting sued. And so when you look at what families are going through, families who have lost loved ones and people to police brutality, this is a big opportunity for people to come in and say, okay, well, we can vote these changes into power. And this is really a bipartisan thing. Amendment 2 was actually proposed by by Republicans and have gained support from both Democrats and Republicans and others as well. So it's really important to note that this is bipartisan legislation that is so important, that really can make a difference. And so, starting with, voting for Amendment 2, voting to pass that, or voting for people who are going to advocate for our communities. Think about this summer, who was out there, who was really trying to be for the people. And so we have to understand that there's policies online and there's people online who are really going to make a difference.
Sorry about that. I always ask this because I saw your growth through this year and I saw the things that you have seen. What was it something and I want to make it sound like something just a switch turned on, but you really went out there. And people, for those who don't know, Hannah has created movements. She was out there for days on end out there in the streets and doing things for the community. I'm so proud to know that I know her because of what she's done. But what was it about this year? 2020 was just interesting enough, but this year was different, and you took on a stronger role, a very vocal role. What was that about this year that kind of just got to you? It was like, I need to be out there. I need to be vocal and do what is needed.
Yeah, I think it was just really a breaking point, bottling over the years, and especially with this year, our communities, our world facing this global pandemic, sitting at home and seeing what's going on. And so as a Black woman, seeing what's happening and knowing that this is a world that we can help change. This is a world that we can get out and do something about to really see a change. And so, when we went from this year, seeing what happened to our dear brothers and sisters, whether from it, what is, Ahmaud Arbery, then we saw what happened, Breonna Taylor, and then George Floyd, God rest all of, those beautiful souls, and learning more stories like Jamarian Robinson right here in Atlanta, who, had 76 bullet wounds through his body. It's just learning more and more about these stories. They were people, and knowing that we have influence. A lot of us, whether you have 5 followers or 5 million followers, you have influence. So knowing that we have to use our platforms to, fight for change and to create a world where that kind of stuff is no longer happening. So I think, after I just remember this year, just seeing so much and learning so much back to back to back, you get to a point where you can no longer just sit on the sidelines and, be gentle about how you say things. We don't have room to be gentle. We have to say it like it is. We have to call it out, and we have to get out there. And, we all saw what happened in Atlanta on that first night of protest when, at the end of May, when things just got crazy, and God protect all of our brothers and sisters. But I knew that at that point, as someone who's a community member, who I know people will, walk with me in this fight, I said, I got to get out there, see how we can organize protests and help our community come together during this time. So we came out. I thought 200 people were going to show up to our protest, and 2,000 people showed up. And from that point moving forward, it was just like, what? We have an obligation as community members and community leaders, and where there's a need, you have to step in and fill that, and lead with compassion, lead with resilience, and lead with a heart, knowing that our as a collective and fighting, it will make a difference.
I always like to ask this about people who are taking on these type of roles. What has been the most, what have you learned most about yourself during this time? Because I've seen, like I said, I tell everybody, make sure you follow Hannah. Make sure you follow everything, because what she's doing is important. What did you learn about yourself that even surprised you to a point that you was even like, wow, I didn't know that was there? I mean, what was it about it? What has this whole movement, you've been through a lot. We'll talk about some things you've been through, but what has this year been for you personally? And what have you learned about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, same about you, brother. I definitely feel the same about you with everything I see. It's like you're just so consistent and continuing to push positive stories, and really, like the logo behind you, optimize the vision. We're all rising, and optimizing our space in this world. So I think, with that being said, I definitely learned a lot about myself. But this year I learned that, like, I knew I was passionate about serving our community, but this year showed me, I mean, there's really, there's almost nothing more important than doing our part in this world, to make a difference. And I learned, how fierce I am. I mean, I knew I was fierce, but this summer it made me, it's a different kind of fierce that comes with it, because there were times where it was really dangerous. When we were out there protesting, we really didn't know what could happen. Anybody could come up on us at any point in time. We saw what was happening in Virginia, where a van drove into a group of protesters. White supremacists drove into Black Lives Matter protests. So you just never knew. So I became on alert, and I knew that, like, all right, you gonna come at me, I'm gonna come back at you. And so that Hannah came out this summer. I mean, that Hannah that was like snapping, but like not just because, but in general, like if I needed to, if I saw something dangerous or saw something happening, I realized that it's like, you have to think about everybody. When you're leading something like that, the safety of everybody comes before you. And so there were times where I even, had to have conversations with fellow protesters or fellow people to say, hey, get out the street, or, hey, we need to move this way. And I know we're all passionate about it, but it's like, we all want to make it back home at the end of the day. I know everybody's family wants to see them that night. I know they don't want to lose their children or lose their brothers and sisters out on the streets. And so it was just, I learned that I had to be a little bit more assertive and a little bit more fierce with how I came at things, because it was just to protect us and to keep us safe and to fight, because you have to have thick skin in this. People are going to come at you. People said a lot of things about us this summer. I got called the B word. This man looked me dead in my eyes and then told me, get out the street. And, here we are just trying to fight for liberty and justice. So you just have to have a thick skin. So that really, really helped me this summer, or I guess evolved.
Isn't that amazing that all you're trying to do is just bring awareness and people act like you're trying to destroy things? I mean, I was concerned about that too, because I saw about it, but also I think what makes, and I want to ask you this from now, I know you're resolved, but you went through some things with this, with people and the people getting angry and things of that nature, but also you caught COVID for a while and went through that. What made you not want to stop? I know a lot of people would have been like, man, I'm called COVID. I've been called this. I've been called that. I'm tired. But you kept going and you're still going. What was it that made you just keep going, even through some tough times? What made you keep going?
Just knowing that we are making a difference, knowing that every single thing we're doing is having a positive impact. And honestly, if I didn't protest this summer so diligently, I would have never met so many people. I've met people from attorneys to activists to, people on the front lines in Atlanta that I thank God I connected with. We talk about the power of community coming together and unity. And so this summer introduced me to so many people just because we were almost on the streets protesting. And then I got sick or whatever. And that was that, I think even before I got sick, I was already thinking, okay, well, how long are we going to do this? Because, the numbers are going up in Georgia and COVID is very real. But, we always made sure people wore masks and people tried to social distance while we were out there. But of course, it was bound to happen at the way we were moving. And so I think after that, after I got better, it was just like, I had to just keep going. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way we can stop. There are people, because we're not just protesting, we're out there serving the community, whether it's providing, meals for people who are experiencing hardships, or, sanitary items or masks for people who don't have them downtown. It's so many people in need, so many people. And that need never stops. And so for as long as we're here on this earth, we have to think about what can we do to help in that arena? What can we do, to create change in that space? And so every day I'm like, you think about, oh, hope I don't get sick today, hope I don't bring it home today. But at the same time, you have faith, that there's this protection around you that is going to be with you for as long as you continue to fight the good fight.
I always thought one of the great thing about what you did was you're very transparent about what went on. That's why I brought the whole COVID, because you went on and said, yo, I caught it, y'all. It's real. When you did your test, you showed us your test and all of that. What's been the response? Because people have been able to travel and on this journey with you. Like you said, you've met people, but what has been some of the response from people that have seen this? Because I see your from your Facebook to your Instagram. What has been the response of what you've been doing? Because you've taken a lot of people on this journey with you, and it's been very important. And a lot of people have been riding with you through this.
Yeah, generally it is positive. I will say there's some people that are like, okay, you're done, stop, and I'm like, no, we're far from done. Let's make that clear. There's so much more we have to do. And as we grow, we have to be more strategic. We have to think, of course, longevity and sustainability. But I think with the people, oh my goodness, I was overwhelmed by love and support. Like, when I say overwhelmed, I don't even know. I mean, first of all, thank you. I definitely express gratitude to every single person who reached out, who sent a message, who called. It was a lot, to the point where I had to turn my phone off. I was getting really bad headaches. I had to wear glasses around, like sunglasses, because I was so sensitive to light. I couldn't look at my screen. It was just too many, but in a great way. I was very fortunate to have that love and support. And so I definitely extend my gratitude to every single person, you know, but I also say I'm not the only one. Like it's millions of people around the world, you know, catching COVID. And yeah, like there were some nights where I couldn't breathe, but there are some people who can't breathe in the hospital on a ventilator, you know? And so I think about them. I think about praying that nobody else catches this, that, you know, that's vulnerable and that has a weak immune system, because as someone who's considered young and healthy, it hit me hard. And so I just pray that the people in our lives and our friends stay protected. But it was definitely overwhelming to get that love and support. And when we were protesting, a lot of people couldn't make it out to protest because, you know, COVID-19, there's a pandemic. So many people reached out, hey, we can't make it, but we want to send you all food. Hey, we can't make it, we want to send you all supplies. Hey, we can't make it, we want to send you gas money. Hey, we can't make it, we want to donate to this group or that group. And it was left and right. Like, we did not ask for a single donation while we were protesting, but people kept coming to us because I guess they saw us as a trusted voice, and they said, how can we support? We want to support people on the front lines. And so we never felt alone. We never felt, you know, I mean, obviously you feel tired at the end of the day, you feel weak. You know, I lost, like, between protesting and COVID, I lost about 14 pounds. So that definitely wasn't fun. But I think it's a part of the process. You're going to be out there in the sun, sweating, standing, you know, getting sick. Like, that's going to happen, you know, but I'm just thankful for good health, for a support system surrounding us, and for all the people who played a role. Cause this really isn't a one person fight. So many people are in this together, and everybody's playing their own role in this, you know?
One thing I've been very impressed with is what y'all have done is created voices for the voiceless, for these mothers and families of the slain people that the protests were about, especially for the ones in Atlanta and locally. You guys have created voices and showing them the solidarity behind them. What have those families said to you guys about what you have meant to them and what y'all have meant to them out there in these streets and these protests?
Yeah, with that, I really want to credit Justice for Georgia, you know, a new group that's formed, for taking the lead on that, because that is an area that they literally focus their energy on, specifically advocating for families who are victims of police brutality or who are fighting against civil injustices. So definitely credit to Justice for Georgia, but having the opportunity to meet so many of these mothers and these fathers and these cousins and friends and families, you know, you just see so much power and so much, you know, strength, because it's not easy to do what they do, to come out. I've had a chance to, you know, do some video with EGlaze and them, and it's like they're so inspiring, and you have to keep going, because they're not stopping. So, you know, if they're not stopping and we're out here and we haven't been impacted by this, we have to stand up with them. We have to stand in solidarity with them, because, like, that strength is on another level. And God forbid, you know, these types of acts continue to happen in our circles, in our, you know, in our neighborhoods, in our communities. And so we all want change, right? And it has to start with supporting those who have experienced what we're fighting against. And so it is important to share their stories. I learned so many stories this year that I never knew about, you know. And so even in Georgia alone, when you think about Georgia alone, you know, I always try and just say their names, you know, when you think of them, whether it's Jimmy Atchison or Jamarian Robinson or Oscar Kane Jr. or Jarvis Likes, or, you know, Shalee Tilson. There's so many individuals, brothers and sisters, who have lost their lives. And so we have to continue saying their names. We have to continue sharing their stories, and we have to continue informing our communities on ways we can make a difference.
Name some of the things that have been created from this movement that you guys have done this year. I think it was I've seen some things, like we talked about Justice for Georgia and things like that, I've seen created over the process. But what are some of the things that you would like to shout out, or some shout outs like you would like to give, that some of the things you've seen created through this positive thing, promoting positivity, what I call it, even though everybody wants to say something else, I call it a positive movement. And that's what I'm gonna call it, because it is a positive movement. So tell us about some of the things that you've seen created and blossom throughout this time that needs to be, get a shout out per se.
Yeah, thank you for that, because it is a positive. Look, we're trying to make a positive difference in this world. And so some people think of protesting as something that is controversial or negative. And I can understand that, you know, 5 years ago, I was not doing what I'm doing today, but again, I'm at a different place now. And so I understand where people are coming from, but just a reminder that all these things are happening to make a positive difference in this world, to create a safer environment for our kids to grow up in, for us to be able to live in. So yeah, I think, of course, just seeing so many groups emerge this summer, as we saw the uprising across this country, literally every state had protests going on. That is unheard of. That was unprecedented. And so to see that history happen is showing that, this is a new generation. This is a generation that is standing on the shoulders of those who came before us, and we're going to keep pushing. When you think of locally, right, you see groups forming in Atlanta, like over the summer, of course, protesting day and night. And then Justice for Georgia shouted them out. They're doing incredible work. Please follow them if you're not. And then the People's Uprising, and they are doing incredible work as well, leading protests, also standing with families, and so much more, specifically for the city of Atlanta and, Metro Atlanta. And you see so many groups like that, but you're seeing changes like whether it's, seeing new leadership with APD, or whether it's seeing some accountability in some of these cases where, officers are having to face consequences for some of their actions, right? Or seeing this energy around voting, right? That in and of itself, there's this renewed energy, this spirit that you really haven't seen in previous elections. But I think we understand that in order to push for the change we want, it starts with all of these things: protesting, fighting on the front lines, voting, putting pressure on elected officials, and so much more. So those are just a few of the things that I've seen, of course, in addition to more. And even with Promote Positivity movement, with our group in particular, we've definitely made it now, a commitment to make sure we are standing for social justice, that we are using our voices to fight for what's right. And so as much as we're passionate about working with the youth and advocating for different causes that affect our community, this is a very important cause that we are committed to fighting for.
And thank you for saying that, because I was going to ask you, how did Promote Positivity change? And you just said that, and thank you for, growing. But I want to ask you about this. You were very involved also in the census. I was part of the campaign. Thank you for including me in that. But what happened this month? I thought they had extended it to October 31st, but what legal did they slide in that we saw that kind of changed that to slow down the census that we kind of missed on that?
Yeah, so that whole thing, first of all, thank you for participating in the census campaign. You and more than 100 amazing individuals like yourself participated, and that was so awesome because we were able to get communities information about filling out the census. We had a lot of people reach out that said, I didn't even know what the census was, or I didn't even know we had to fill it out, or, and so I'm just so happy that we were able to reach particularly, the African-American community, because we're always undercounted. And so being able to have ambassadors like you who can, reach out to their audience was amazing. As far as the census, and that whole, it's been in limbo, this whole year. They pushed it back, with COVID-19 because it was hard to count communities, and they had pushed it back to the end of October. But then the Trump administration came out and said, nah, we need to push it back up to September 30th, because they basically were saying they wanted all the numbers to be finalized by end of December because, Trump will still be president. And then, a judge in California ruled that, it's not right. We need more time, and try to push it back to, they pushed it back to September 30th. The Trump administration wanted to move it up a month, and the judge in California was like, no, we need to push it back to October 30th because communities are just not going to be counted. It's going to be inaccurate data, this and that. And so Trump administration appealed it and, went through the Supreme Court. And so unfortunately, we have an administration and, and a Supreme Court that ruled that is supporting the administration's decision to move it up early, to move it up to end September 30th instead of October 31st. So when we thought, hey, we're winning, because we thought that the judge's, decision, or the judge in California, that action had led to an extension, it actually didn't. It only led to them still going back and forth. And while it's going back and forth, the Supreme Court ruled that it must end because, it wasn't finalized to go until October 31st, which is really unfortunate because they ended it, 2 weeks early. And that's 2 weeks that so many community organizations were ready to get people to fill it out. So that was really disappointing. But I will say very thankful that we were able to get a lot of people.
Yeah, I thought the movement was great. I thought I saw a lot of people fill out. I had a couple of census workers around where they said that they had some great numbers. They got a lot of people signed up. So I think, even though we needed the extension, I think we did. The movement was great to get it out there. I thought the message was out there. Hannah, I want to end with this with you, and I thank you so much for taking the time out your busy schedule. But how do we not keep this movement going? I mean, this has been, as much as 2020 has been crazy for some people, I thought for me it's been some lightning bolts. I thought the youth movement has been fantastic throughout this year and what they've been able to do. And I think I want to see it get stronger and not just be a 1 year thing, but I want to see it become a every day, every week, every month, every year thing moving forward, so we can keep it moving and keep it going. What are your thoughts about how to make it move forward and continue to keep this pressure, as I say, on the neck, as we like to say?
Right. We definitely have to keep this pressure on. We cannot stop. And that's been, one of the messages this year. Just because summer ended and we're now in fall and we're going to be approaching winter soon and the seasons are going to change, the energy and the momentum cannot change. We have to continue. The same passion we felt over the summer, we got to channel that into the polls. We got to channel that into community advocacy. We have to channel that into community organizing and serving our community and our brothers and sisters that are experiencing hardships. There's so many people in need right now. And when you look across the spectrum of different ways people are being impacted, all we got to say is pick anywhere on the spectrum and just start helping. Make it a commitment. Don't just stop. Don't just, think, oh, well, we did what we had to do. No, it was not a one moment thing. As the saying goes, this truly is a movement, not a moment. And so we really encourage people, think about the spaces that you're in. Maybe you work in the, corporate world, and maybe you have, opportunity and a platform to recruit more Black people or more, Latinx people, or maybe, people from different diverse backgrounds. You should do that. You should take advantage of that role by doing so. And I know you do an amazing job of that, Emmanuel, and so do the people around you. And so that's the message we need to encourage people to do. I've seen so many people who work, as lawyers or even in hospitals speak out and speak up, to be able to bring change. Like, the change that we're fighting for is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen this year. This is going to happen over the many years to come. And the minute we let up, the minute we stop is the minute the change stops. And so we have to continue pushing, whether it's in the corporate world, whether it's using your platform as a professional athlete, or whether you're a student and speaking out on campus, or whether you're serving your community by helping those less fortunate, or whether you're doing stuff like this, using a media platform to expose stories and organizations doing the work. So whatever we do, we just got to keep pushing. That's like the big message. Keep fighting. And while you're fighting, please take care of yourselves, because we've seen too many people lose themselves in the process. It's a heavy fight. And so we have to take care of ourselves. Think about your mental health. Think about how you can create sustainability and longevity, because this is going to be a long fight. But I think many of us can agree that we're in this for the long run.
Thank you, guys, because as we've lost some leaders this year, from C.T. Vivian to John Lewis to Joseph Lowry, I'm glad to see that we have a younger group coming up to hopefully take that and push what they fought for to move forward. And I just want people, I know people are going to be fired up when they see this. Where can they follow? Tell them where to go that they can follow you, and also some other places they can go that if they want to help and to help out as well.
Absolutely. And I want to just add one more thing to what I just said. Please don't get caught up comparing yourself. Don't get caught up comparing, oh, well, this person's doing more, or I'm not doing more. I'm not doing good enough. You are doing good enough. Even you existing and being in a state of happiness, that in and of itself is an act of this revolution. Because you have to remember, we live in a country where at one point, people didn't want people that look like us to be happy. They didn't want us to experience joy. They didn't want us to be healthy and waking up the next morning. So even doing that in and of itself is a win. And so I think we build on that, right? So just want to make sure everybody knows that you being you is more than enough in this world. As far as staying connected with us, I would love to stay connected.
I'm cutting that piece up. I'm cutting that up, and I'm going to make that a post, that piece there.
Well, hey, I'll definitely reshare it.
Keep going.
Yes, I'm gonna reshare it. So please let me know. And as far as staying connected, promote positivity movement on Instagram, and then Hannah Joy TV across all platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then we also have a merchandise line. It's a lifestyle brand, as you can see. We have the 4 hearts that represent peace and love and unity. The colors are inspired by Ethiopia and Eritrea's flags and peace initiatives, and just, again, a message of love and peace. And then we're also releasing a new line on November, in the second week of November. So stay tuned for that. Hope you enjoy it. But again, it's all about promoting positivity and just continuing to stay up and rise together.
There it is, guys. If you don't do anything else, I think she's a great follow. Is always what I love about you, always giving content too. You won't be bored following Hannah. You keep up. There's always content. There's always things she was doing. I'm gonna say this on the air. I was disappointed in the wing challenge. I thought y'all was gonna win that. I was hoping y'all would have made it to the finals. I was a little hurt. It was a great episode, though. It was a great episode.
Listen, I was ready for a new car. I was so ready, man. I was so ready. I was like, this is it. This is my shot. But you know what? God said, no, we got bigger and better. God said, it's gonna be a little bit more time. We're gonna get you there, sis.
And that's one of my favorite shows too. I was like, oh, I know somebody on here. I'm so happy. It was great. But
that was fun. Definitely check that episode. If you need a good laugh, go ahead and watch.
That was a great episode. Great show, by the way, too. But
and I want to say thank you to you, just really quickly. Thank you for all that you do, the leadership to optimize the vision, pouring into the youth at a time where we need leadership and support. So thank you for all that you do, and it's an honor to be on the show.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate all that you do, Hannah. Please, everybody, one of the great people that you need to know. Make sure you follow Hannah Joy TV on all. Promote positivity. Just great follows, great person, great things. And also, man, I totally want to end it with this. Continue to optimize your visions as we move forward, because we're going to need you. The world is better with you in it. And always remember that. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you later. Have a great day.